Peace and blessings. Welcome to my channel. My name is Taj Utsi and I am a certified financial coach. I am also the founder of True Financial Coaching, where our mission here is to educate, enlighten, and equip individuals with the financial literacy that is necessary in order to get off of the rat wheel. What is the rat wheel? The rat wheel is when one is constantly financing things that go down in value for them, but up in value for the banks at the same time. The wheel is only powered as long as the rat is in motion. So when one is constantly financing depreciating objects, they continue to keep that wheel in motion. It's not until one wakes up, realizes that they are the rat that's powering the wheel, then they can create a plan and then stick to that plan in order to get off of the wheel. And then they become free to do what they want when they want, instead of having to do the things that they don't want. Today, just wanted to come on and share some thoughts that I've been having the past couple of days, well, particularly the past week or so, but I was thinking about, as some may have seen the news in Philadelphia, they just ended, a couple of days ago, they ended this strike, the DC 33 workers, the union, which consisted of police dispatchers, some of the water department, but the main focus was on the trash collector sanitation department. And so I'm sure many have already seen the videos of how the trash piled up here in Philadelphia, where I'm from. I'm not in Philly right now, but yeah, I mean, it was getting bad. It's getting bad. I mean, you all seen some of the videos, but what I was thinking was, I'm glad that they went on strike. I'm glad. A lot of people was complaining about the trash pileup, but you had to prove a point. And listening to the union rep, he was disappointed at the results because they didn't really get the deal that they wanted. He wasn't satisfied with the deal. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, why'd you take it? Just hold out more. Just hold out. But it had me thinking, and I'm not saying this is true or not, but had me thinking about maybe he just took the deal, so the workers can get paid, get back to work. Because when you talk about a strike, like, yeah, you're not getting paid and you're trying to get better income, better working conditions, benefits, whatever. But I'm pretty sure majority of people can't afford to strike. You can't afford to strike because majority of people living paycheck to paycheck. Like I said, I read a couple of the stats out there. You look at about 4 out of 10 people can't even afford $1,000 emergency with their own money. You have people that drowning in debt. One lady I heard on the radio that was a DC 33 union worker, she was saying that she makes around $2,200 a month and her rent was like $1,500 a month. It's like, yeah, all right, rent expense is prices are going up, but when your rent is more than half of your take-home pay, that's a problem. That's a problem. So it made me think, like, yeah, all right, the guy, the union rep, he said he didn't want to take the deal, he thought it was a bad deal, whatever, but you accepted it, right? And that's what made me think about how many of them workers could continue to go on, because the strike lasted 8 days. How many of them workers could continue to go on without getting paid, where their whole life would just be turned upside down? And this raised a question with a lot of individuals. Like I said, and I just retired from teaching, but I remember we had back in about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2, 3 years ago, the union had accepted a 1 year, about 2 years ago, was it? Whatever, but last year maybe, they accepted a 1 year extension on their contract, on the PFT contract. And it was like, all right, we had a union meeting, had a vote, and the majority of the people accepted the 1 year agreement instead of wanting to strike, right? Instead of wanting to hold out. And to me, again, I was one of those that wanted to hold out, that wanted to strike, because you're given a 1 year deal with everything's the same, except you give a little small percentage increase and little stipend, little bonus, whatever. But it's like, come on, man, like, and this is what I'm saying, like the majority of the people, when if push comes to shove and one had to strike, majority of people wouldn't be ready. And this goes back to what I've been saying about getting your finances in order, you know, establishing that budget, getting that emergency fund, getting out of debt. Because most people accept what employers, the conditions of these jobs and what employers, you know, tell them to do and whatever, because they can't afford to not have a paycheck coming in. And it makes me wonder, like, even like I said, with the teachers, I remember they was thinking about striking or whatever, and it was like, and it's not just a teachers union, it's other members of the union outside of teachers, like paraprofessionals, nurses, counselors, psychologists, speech therapists, things of that nature. So everybody's income is not the same. But I remember specifically one teacher had told me that, like, look, if we strike, she gonna cross the picket line. It was like, wow. But and I'm not knocking anybody to do that, because you got to do what you got to do for yourself. But it's like, she said, I got bills to pay, this, that, and the other. But it's like, to me here, especially with teachers, you making above average salary, because I believe the average annual salary for the U.S. is about 67,000, 66, 67,000. So as teachers, especially if you've been teaching for years, your income is much higher than the average. So again, why is it that if a strike was to happen, you would say, I would cross the picket line because I got bills to pay? That lets me know that your finances is not in order. Your finances is not in order. Why? Because most people have the consumer mindset. Have the consumer mindset. And all that is a program. It's all a program. Just look at the commercials, billboards, ads that pop up on your YouTube, things like that. It's all programming. And it started since little. Since little. Me and a brother was talking about this recently, about how even as little children, when we were growing up, Saturday morning cartoons, commercials, just toys and cereal and whatever, just and when the kids don't even have jobs, or they run into the parents, what are they programming children at a young age to what? Buy, consumer mindset. And this is why, as we develop and grow up and start working, it's like majority of people just had to continue that conditioning, of consuming, that rat wheel is going, just constantly turning. Why? Financing. Like, it's ridiculous, man. It's a program. So now when you get on these workplace sites and jobs or whatever, we just accept anything. We accept anything. Why? Because the majority of people don't have the foundational financial skills to stop living paycheck to paycheck. This lady she said, if we were to strike, she would cross the picket line. Why is that when you've been teaching for over 10 years? You don't have enough money to carry you for a week, because with in Philadelphia we can only strike for 7 days as PFT members, union members. PFT is what, Philadelphia Federation of Teachers. You can only strike for 7 days. So you telling me you don't have savings for 7 days? It's like, come on. This strike, the DC 33 strike went 8 days. Should have went longer, in my opinion. In my opinion, should have went longer. You should have held out. But again, who am I? I don't know what all went on in those meetings. I'm just, I don't know. But my point is, we accept things that we don't know we don't want. I understand compromise with both sides. I get that. But to say this man came out of that meeting saying, I am not pleased, I'm not satisfied with the deal that was reached, to me, that just doesn't make sense. This woman said that, she said on the radio, she said she makes about $2,200 a month. Your rent is $1,500 a month. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And I have a rule of thumb, just a rule of thumb. But for me, your rent, your mortgage payment, whatever, your rent or mortgage, if you have a mortgage, and I'm not against mortgages, and I'll get into that. But your rent should not, or your mortgage, your monthly payment should not be more than 25% of your net income. Maybe push it to 30, depending upon the circumstance, but 25%, because now that gives you 75% of your income to do the other things, right? To do the other things, to take your groceries, your utilities, your expenses, right? And your expenses are different than debt. Expenses, things that keep your everyday life going, right? Debt is attached to a loan. And the reason why I say that, because some people say that, they say rent is debt. Rent is not debt. If you have rent, that is not debt. Rent is an expense. It's not debt. Debt is attached to a loan when you owe somebody. If I have rent, I am paying for a service, just like renting a car, just like your cable, if you have cable, right? You renting, if you have a cable box, you're renting that box. You just look at your statement, it says it. You're renting the box. You have Wi-Fi, you're actually renting the router. And this is why I don't even know why people even do that. Most people don't even know that they're renting, that part of that internet payment is for rent for a router, when you can just go out and just buy the router, as opposed to paying whatever amount you're paying a month. After 6 months, you could have had already bought your own router. So, but my point is that rent is an expense. It's not debt. So but if an individual rent is half of your take-home pay, then that don't leave you room for much after your expenses, your other expenses, your food, your utility, and then if you have car insurance, right? If you have then after that you got your debt, your car payment, if you have a car payment, your other debt. But if you have that, then you really don't have much to save or invest. And then people wonder why they live in paycheck to paycheck. Wonder why they gotta accept the disrespect and the treatment that's going on at these jobs. Wonder why you can't strike for longer than 8 days. Because we weren't properly taught how to manage money. Money is a tool just like anything else. A hammer. You had to learn how to use a hammer. You had to been taught how to use a hammer. A weed whacker had to been taught how to use that. A lawnmower, whatever you name it, whatever tool. It comes instructions with these tools, and someone has to teach us how to use these tools. But for some reason, when it comes to money, which is a tool, Where are the instructions at? Where are the instructions? And I'm telling you, this is the design. This is a design. It's a design. It's designed this way. It's designed this way. The schools are designed to make workers and consumers and uh, uh, people design children to comply and obey is ridiculous. And I'm gonna start another channel about my experiences with the school district. I'm gonna wait probably around September when I, when schools start back up here in the States, right? But I'm gonna do that. But my point is, again, we haven't been taught properly. Again, rule of thumb: 25% of your take home pay for your rent or mortgage, right? Rent is an expense. Mortgage is debt. And again, I'm not against mortgage. I'm not against mortgages. I'm not against mortgages. Somebody said it had to ask a question in one of the videos about they made a mistake, and like I never said don't accept a mortgage from a certain bank, right? But I understand what the question was though. What I was saying is, if you have to get a mortgage, right? I'm not against mortgages, but it don't take 30 years to pay off a mortgage if you do it right. But if you have to get a mortgage, get the conventional mortgage. Don't do a FHA. Now, if you don't qualify for a conventional, and you really, if you decide you really want to get a mortgage, then hey, do you FHA? The reason why I say that is because with the FHA, a lot of the front end, like if you get a 30-year mortgage, whatever, a lot of the front end of it, a lot of the mortgage payment is going towards interest. It's going towards interest. Then you have PMI, which is primary mortgage insurance. And that doesn't protect you, that protects the banks, because when if you have to get an FHA, banks look at you as high risk because the qualifications are not as high as a conventional. So you can have lower credit score. You don't need a high credit score for FHA, right? You don't need as much down, right? You should put 20% down minimum. If that's what you should be putting down as a down payment. Whereas the FHA loan, it might maybe 3, 5, 6% down. You don't need much down, right? So if you have to get a mortgage, I would recommend a conventional, because again, FHA, a lot of the front end of the mortgage payment goes towards interest. And by the end of the loan, you done probably pay 2.5 times of what the house is really, what you got the loan for. So FHA loans, I'm telling you, man, I have one, and I'll be out of that soon. My mortgage will be paid off in the next probably month, God willing, next month, God willing. But I'm telling you, man, if you have to get a mortgage, do the conventional. 15-year conventional, 20-year, whatever. But it shouldn't even take you the full term if you do it right. And this is why I say you got to get out of debt. You got to eliminate the debt, build your emergency fund, and now you can start putting more towards the principal. So if the mortgage payment, let me just keep it simple numbers. Mortgage payment is $1,000, and the principal, let's just say, is $400, right? And I did a video on this, but you can just put an extra principal payment. So instead of paying $1,000 that month, if you put an extra principal, you'd be paying $1,400. And by doing that, you don't eliminate it 1 month of interest. You don't eliminate it 1 month of interest. Why? Because you paid extra on the principal, and you stopped an event from happening that would normally have happened if you didn't pay that principal. And what is that event? Interest. So you didn't save money on interest. If the mortgage payment is $1,400 is principal, right? 500 is interest or 600 is interest, whatever, right? Pay an extra $400, you done eliminated 1 month of interest payments. Now do that for a year. Do that for a year. You done saved a whole year on interest, and you knocked off a year off of your mortgage. You can have a mortgage knocked off 7-10 years max if you do it right. If you do it right. If you do it right. 5 years, at the quickest, probably 5 years if you do it right. But I can't do that, right, if I got all this consumer debt. I can't do that. It's going to be hard to do that. So, as I often say, and people may not agree, and that's your right. Homeowners don't have payments. Homeowners don't have mortgage payments. See, homeowners don't have mortgage payments. Because I say that because, again, people call themselves homeowners, and you got a 30-year mortgage. So what do you call a person that don't have a mortgage with a paid off house free and clear? What are they? You can't have you got There's two types of homeowners: a true homeowner and a fake homeowner. If you got a mortgage, you're a fake homeowner. It may sound like it may sound weird, crazy. You may not heard nothing like that before, but as I said before, you're not a homeowner. You are a loan owner. You are a loan owner with a mortgage. That's what I was. That's what I am. I'm still a loan owner. I'm not a homeowner. I'm going to be a homeowner soon. A true homeowner. I'll be a true homeowner. But yeah, but like I said, man, oh man, it's funny though. Because again, most people accept they tolerate the working conditions and the disrespect of employers because they can't afford to go without a job. And I get that. I get it. Because that's how I was like that. I was like that. But I'm telling you, once you get out of debt and once you build up your emergency fund, get your 3 to 6 months, because it's a step-by-step process. Create your budget, get your starting emergency fund, whether it's $1,000 or a month worth of expenses. Eliminate all your consumer debt except for your mortgage or student loan, depending upon the amount. And that's all, I do that based one-on-one, but primarily, everything except for the mortgage, right? Then you can build your 3 to 6 months up. Build your 3 to 6 months emergency fund. And once you get that, I'm telling you, you will not. Once you get out of debt, once you build that emergency fund, you won't accept things. You'll look at a job differently. I'm telling you, you won't look at a job differently. And I'm not saying I'm not against jobs and working, but again, most people are working because they have to. They're not doing what they want to. Most people hate their job. A lot of people hate their jobs. They hate them. Like I said, I love teaching. I love teaching. And I loved working in the classroom. But after a while, I just got like, nah, man, I can't. I'm tired of this. But I felt trapped. Like I said, I remember driving into work one day on the bus, and I remember thinking to myself, I got to get out of this. I said, I can't do this. How can I get out of this? And I didn't know. But like I said, and I shared my testimony before, but COVID woke me up. COVID woke me up. And I know a lot of lives was lost during COVID, but COVID was a blessing to me because it woke me up. It gave me time to stop, right, and think and listen in silence, right? Because it's a lot of noise. It's a lot of noise. And when you're constantly working, right, you're constantly on that same loop, that same cycle, that same loop. What is that? You wake up. And I used to remember doing this, man. I used to remember wake up, turn on the news in the morning, and just leave it playing. I mean, I'll just lay in the bed and I try to go back to sleep, but I keep the TV on just so I don't oversleep. But I had the news playing, getting myself together, listening to the news, the same old, such and such a crime in this location of the city, Chopper 6, Action News, traffic control jam, whatever. Here's the weather for the day, sports. It was the same thing. The news, same thing. I don't even watch the news anymore. I can't watch the news no more. I'm telling you, I can't even watch the news no more because it's the same thing. It's the same thing. But that was part of my routine. Turn on the news, get myself ready in the morning, go out, leave, have my prayer, read scripture, whatever. All that was a part of my routine. But outside of that, it was like, all right, going to work, gonna wait for the bus, get on the bus, dealing with the same foolishness on the bus. People, kids in the front of the bus, all this room in the back of the bus, move to the back of the bus. I used to hate that. I'm telling you, I'll be on this bus so frustrated. People got bags in the seats. Yo, you only pay for one seat. Why you got a bag in your seat? And then when I ask you to move, you look at me like I'm doing something wrong. You didn't pay for two seats. Now if you pay for two seats, all right. But I'm telling you, man, these were my go to work, same thing, same conversations, same thing, like same routine. It's like leave work, go home, so tired, just what I mean, just take a nap, lay on the couch, whatever, turn on the news, get ready so I don't oversleep for church. If it wasn't a church night, just relax. But I was just too tired, man. Just tired to do anything. Next thing you know, got to get ready for bed to do it all over again. Same cycle. And this, I'm telling you, this stuff is by design. 40-hour work week is a program. It's a program. It's a program. And I did a video on that. I'll do more of another video on that, but that's a program. Why 40 hours? Who made that up? I got the answer to that. But it's a program to keep us busy, looking forward to the weekend, looking forward to Saturday. And really the weekend is only really like one day, just Saturday, because by the time a certain time comes, you get sick because you got to get ready to do it all over again. I remember getting that sick feeling like, oh man, I don't want to go back, man. I remember that feeling. But I didn't have time to really think. Well, I had the time, but I just was so tired, I couldn't use it right. Because work is draining. It'll drain you mentally and physically. And most jobs are physically draining, but as a teacher, it was a lot of mental stress, mental draining. And so, like I said, COVID for me was a blessing. Yeah, like I said, people died, and I'm not saying that was a blessing, but it gave me time to just sit and think, because I said to myself, man, thank God I was still getting paid during COVID, but we weren't working. I said, man, if I wasn't getting paid, where would I be at? It was unbelievable. And that's like, whoa, wait a minute. I've been doing this all these years, and I'll be 1 month away from, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, this ain't right. Something ain't right. So then what did I do? I just listened to certain things. And I think I came across Dave Ramsey during COVID, and he was saying some things that made sense. It made sense. So I applied his principles, and here I am, man. 5 years later, I'm free and retired. Only debt is my mortgage. And like I said, that had to be paid off in a month. And I could have kept working, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to. Didn't want to. I'm telling you, man, it's, it's, it's freedom. So now I already had summers off. So, and that's what I said. Like, it probably really won't hit me till I got to go back till I have to go back to work, and I don't have to go back to work. And what I mean is, like, teachers go back in the States, we go back at the end of August. So, but I, so when, it probably won't hit me until that time when I say, wow, I only have to go back to work. And what's crazy is I'll be having nightmares. I had to be having nightmares that I'm still working in the classroom. When they did nightmares, I wake up like, oh, like, whoa, whoa. I had a nightmare that I wasn't retired. That the school system said that you got to do one more year. I said no. I'm telling you, them nightmares. But what is that? It's the mental stress of a job, man. Most people can't quit a job and just take some time to just relax until they find another job. A lot of people can't do that. Most people got to go and take a day off to go on a job interview for another job. Why can't you just quit a job, just take a couple of weeks just to relax, chill, and then look for another job? But if you had an emergency fund, you didn't have no debt, you can do that. And again, I'm not trying to shame nobody. I'm just trying to make you see something. I'm gonna help you see something. I'm not trying to shame nobody. Why? Because that was me. I'm not judging nobody. I'm not trying to shame nobody. I'm just want you to see something. Because that was me. That was me. Like I said, I remember going in like, I can't do this. I got to do this for till I'm 53, 55. And even though that's still young, but I couldn't do it, man. And I'm telling you, once you get a taste of what it's like to be free, and that's what it was that sabbatical did. Once you get a taste of that, something like that time off, you're gonna do everything you can to keep that feeling. You're gonna do everything you can to keep that feeling. And like I said before, I could have kept working. I didn't want to. I didn't want to. And most people, there's a lot of people that would love to do something that they would do it without getting paid. Like, you want to get paid for your services, but I know there's something that everyone would love to do, and it wouldn't even feel like work. Wouldn't even feel like work. They'll do it for free. That's what I'm doing. What I'm doing, yeah, I get paid for my service, but it don't even feel like work. Helping people, reaching out with consultations and coaching sessions, and I love it. I love it, man, because what I learned, I want to share with everybody. I want to share with everybody, and that's what the videos are for. Because there's people that haven't even reached out to me for one-on-ones, but they just listen to the videos and apply what I've been sharing to their own life. People leave comments saying, thank you, man, the video's been helping me. I've been paid off this amount of debt. I done started saving. People talking about their cars being paid off. Like, that's a blessing, man. I'm happy for them. Those people that have been leaving comments. It's encouraging. It's encouraging because it shows me that I'm on the right track. Also, what I'm doing. I'm not. It's not in vain, and I'm just sharing information. And the thing is, what I'm sharing is very simple. That some people can't believe that it really works because it's so simple. They think it got to be something complex, and it's not. It's just that simple, but it takes a lot of discipline. Being simple doesn't mean it's easy. As I often say, it's simple. Lose weight, very simple plan, right? Eat less, burn more, right? Eat less food, burn more calories. Movement, right? Eat less, move more. It's that simple. But it's not easy because it requires a certain level of discipline. And that's what some people really lack. They lack that discipline and they're not willing to sacrifice. And the same with your finance. Very simple plan. Keep your expenses low, stay out of debt, save and invest the difference. Simple plan, but it's not easy to execute. Why? Because the system, the distractions around us, the commercials and the social media and the billboards. Like I was talking to somebody the other day, they keep you stuck in traffic for hours, and they got billboards everywhere. That's by design. That's by design. Paid advertisement. That's by design. So while you're stuck in traffic, oh, now I can think about buying this, think about buying that. That's the design. The certain commercial ads that pop up on your feeds, that's by design. That's not an accident. These certain ads come up. That's not an accident. So a lot of distractions, and people don't have the discipline. They don't have the discipline, and it's difficult. It is difficult, right? Because we've been in us thinking us have a certain type of mindset for a certain amount of years that now I have to shift my way of thinking. I have to shift my way of thinking, and that's where the challenge comes in. That's where the challenge comes in. But if you can shift your train of thought and apply that discipline and willing to sacrifice, right? Because to me, discipline is denying yourself of present day pleasure for long term success. Saying no to something that you can get right now to say yes for something down the line. And a lot of people don't have that discipline. They don't have the discipline. And they think it's something outside of themselves that's going to get them to that point where they want to get it. And it's not. It's right within here. It's right up here. So, like I said, man, what what I'm sharing, information I'm sharing. Hope you're finding it useful. I was talking to another brother. God willing, we're going to try to do a live stream and come on and talk about insurance, because that's another thing that I've been thinking about also. Types of insurance policies. People got insurance on cars and insurance on watches, right? You got insurance on your cell phone, but you don't have insurance on yourself, on your life. Especially if you the sole provider of your household, you should have life insurance. But we're going to get into that a little later. We're going to get into that a little later. We're going to get into that a little later. But I got to talk to a brother of mine, and he's going to come on, and we're going to have a nice conversation and get into that. But yeah, man. Simple plan, not easy to execute though. You gotta want it. That's with anything in life. Gotta want it. And I'm telling you, what I'm experiencing, what I have experienced these last 5 years, and what I've accomplished, like in that video y'all saw, the short that I made, and also the video. But that was 5 years worth of work that I put in. That one moment coming out that school building, that was 5 years worth of work. That just didn't happen by I don't believe in luck, but it was nothing to do with luck or chance. That was work. You got to put in the work. That was years of sacrifice. You got to put in the work if you want to be free. So if you're ready to invest in yourself, ready to get off the rat wheel so you can become free to do what you want when you want instead of having to do the things you don't want, come visit me at truefincoaching.com. Schedule a consultation. Let's see what we can do to help you to get on your way to becoming free to do what you want when you want instead of having to do the things that you don't want. Peace and blessings.